Oh, hi there. I'm Frostbyte Freeman, and this is the Frostbyte Freeman Films Holiday Special. I've always wanted a holiday special, you know? When I was a little kid, Christmas was my favorite time of the year. I adored all the decorations and celebrations and superstitions and, what have you, but I loved watching Christmas movies most of all. Christmas movies were always so warm and gentle and festive, welcoming and inviting, with a friend always stopping by and knocking on the door to brighten your spirits and spread some holiday cheer. The old Rankin Bass stop motions, the made-for-TV cartoons, there was nothing I looked forward to more. Hermie the Elf's orthodontic aspirations, Yukon Cornelius' search for peppermint, Linus Van Pelt and his scripture-quoting soliloquies in the theater, Charlie Brown morosely wandering through miles of metal trees, Snow Miser and the Winter Warlock, Professor Hinkle's ridiculous dialogue in his magic hat, good old wishy-washy Karen, the bouncing Bumble, Jimmy Durante and Burl Ives, and six of Tom Hanks and Boris Karloff. These were my closest companions on many a frosty winter evening in my youth. So this year, I wanted to do something a little special for the holiday season. If you'll let me, I wanted to tell you about 3 of my very favorite Christmas specials and tell you why they're special to me. Sound fair enough? Well then, pull up a chair and bundle up under your blankets because we've got some comfy, cozy Christmas specials to watch together. And first up on my list is a movie that's fun for the whole family, featuring the ever-lovable Muppets. When you think of a Muppet Christmas special, you probably think of A Muppet Christmas Carol, and for good reason. The first Muppet movie to be released after Jim's death, directed by his son and created by a crew still mourning both Henson and puppeteer Richard Hunt, it's been rightly canonized as a classic for its incredible Paul Williams score and an utterly unimpeachable performance by Michael Caine, which staggers you with its sheer sincerity and solemnity when juxtaposed with the silliness of his co-stars. A Muppet Christmas Carol is made all the more special by its close connection to a time of year that Jim himself held very dear. In fact, Henson and company cut their teeth with a whole slew of made-for-TV Christmas specials and guest appearances around the holiday season. That and commercials were what kept the lights on in the workshop while they pursued their passion projects and filmmaking ambitions. There have been so many Muppet Christmas specials that it's almost hard to keep track. A Muppet Christmas Carol, A Muppet Family Christmas, The Christmas Toy, It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie, The Great Santa Claus Switch, best known for introducing us to the greatest Muppet of all time, Thog, Holiday Greetings from The Ed Sullivan Show, A Muppet Christmas, John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together, and the Bob Hope All-Star Christmas Comedy Special, just to name a few, and excluding the Sesame Street affairs. But if you're willing to take a little trip down the river with me, I guarantee you'll find a special little picture just as good as any Muppet holiday special there ever was, if not better. Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas is a 1977 made-for-TV holiday special directed by Jim Henson, based on a beloved children's book which was itself based on the classic holiday fable of The Gift of the Magi. That should tell you just about everything you need to know about this movie and its story already, because this is a very simple story with some very simple songs and a wonderfully sincere heart. Emmet Otter is just a little guy who wants to get his mom a present for Christmas, so he and his buddies have to enter into a talent contest in his small town to win the money, which puts him into conflict with a gang of rock and roll band rascals that live down the river. This central waterway is the conduit for our story, and its narrative flows along with it, winding and ebbing and flowing, taking every twist and turn at a leisurely pace. However, the ins and outs and nooks and crannies and burrows of every creature along the river are so meticulously fleshed out, so wonderfully warm and characterful and full of life that it's hard to be a cynic. It's hard not to just be instantly enamored. You're conscious of every exertion of Jim Henson's will, of the way his hand shapes the lay of the land and the swoop of the camera, and you can feel how much he cares about this lovely little cast of woodland critters. The appeal of Emmet Otter is that its seams are so clearly visible, that its craft is so constantly on display. You are never not aware of the soundstage scenery, or the matte painted backdrops, or miniature landscapes, or black box theater, or hidden lighting, or miniature mechanisms, and yet you love it all the same because the love is so clearly visible. You can tell when and where and how hands were hidden or wires were used. You can see exactly how much everyone in the workshop loved this spunky, superb little picture, and it's this concept of love within artistic limitations that really sings to you from off the screen and across time. Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas isn't the most well-known or beloved piece of Muppetational intellectual property, but its impact could not have been more profound. At Jim's funeral, all of his friends gathered around to sing its closing number, When the River Meets the Sea. With a runtime under an hour, Emmet Otter is free to watch right here on YouTube, and I truly cannot recommend it enough. It's a truly special little holiday special. To me, at least, Emmet Otter is special precisely because it exemplifies one of my favorite parts about the holiday season, the texture it imparts upon our recollection. When I was a little kid, Christmas was my favorite time of year, but Christmas never really feels quite like it did back when you were a kid, does it? Nothing ever does, really. There was a visceral tactility to the world back then, a texture to reality, because every sight and sound and smell was just so new and wonderful. It's part of getting old, I guess. The world exists in a lower fidelity now. Memory erodes and the edges of existence get sanded off. Life back then was realer than reality, and Christmas was the most magically unreal time of all. I still vividly remember all the activities and arts and crafts I did for the holidays back in elementary school, all the songs we sung in the annual Christmas pageant, all the decorations in the halls. With time, though, all that fades, and the fondness for this season, the reason for the love, fades with it. Our next Christmas movie might take some defending, especially since you've probably never considered it as such before. And no, it's not Die Hard, though that is still a Christmas movie. So, very briefly, I want to lay out my criteria for what a holiday special actually is and what it entails. That way you can understand where I'm coming from. First, it has to actually take place over the holiday season. That's a no-brainer. Second, it has to invoke the human spirit in some way by overcoming a great adversity, enduring some tremendous ordeal, or bearing an incredible burden. And third, it has to be sad, scary, and unsettling, even if just a little bit. All the best stories about the holiday season reckon with its ephemerality, its intangibility, the fantasy of human connection and togetherness it promises us. Christmas is such a spooky, mournful, bitterly cold time of year when the wind is whipping at your face out of doors, but inside, huddled up by the hearth, it's the summer of the soul in December. There's no better season in which to set a story about our failures to communicate and our inability to truly be known and truly be loved. So, with all that in mind, I hope you'll keep an open mind when I say that Stanley Kubrick's 1999 thriller Eyes Wide Shut is, in fact, a Christmas movie. Allow me to make my case. First, if this isn't a Christmas movie, why is it one of the most beautifully shot motion pictures set during the holidays? Kubrick has always been endlessly fascinated with the play of light, an interest that spans across his work regardless of the cinematographer he's collaborating with on any given film. See the lush, naturally lit tapestries of Barry Lyndon, or the meticulously manufactured rigs he employed in 2001: A Space Odyssey that were so exact in their recreation of interstellar illumination that a certain sect of crackpots became convinced that he faked the moon landing. Here, in the final film he directed before his death, he's still fascinated by light, a fascination that manifests in exposure settings that make each individual bulb on each strand of Christmas lights burn and sear into your screen like a dying star, hazy and glowing and dreamlike. Shooting this New York Christmas movie in London has the added effect of making the city feel immortal, timeless, quaint, and unnatural. Again, realer and more textural than reality. I don't even need to say anything, just look. It's one of the most gorgeous Christmas movies ever. It's also one of the funniest, and most unnerving. Briefly, Eyes Wide Shut is the story of Tom Cruise playing an impotent, insecure little man who finds himself at odds with the world around him and unable to connect with others during the holiday season. So, if you really think about it, it's kinda like Charlie Brown, in a way, albeit with a psychosexual conspiracy implicating New York's wealthy elites simmering at its core. Everyone harps on about the mysterious, almost pagan mysticism of the masquerade in the third act, but so much of this movie is really just textbook black comedy as Cruise bumbles around town and generally just makes a mess of things. His own sexuality is tremendously confused and possibly repressed, his puritanism and prurience dueling in his tortured psyche. We see this drama play out over his interactions with prostitutes and costume shop owners, promiscuous bellhops and piano players, even his own wife, whose libido he seems ill-equipped to even comprehend. Cruises as a character deeply at odds with the world of fantasy, always sulking and spying around its shadowy edges, feeling tremendously alienated from his own life, as if he does not belong, as if he has always just seen something harrowing he should not have, yet he is unable to tear his eyes away all the same. This holiday season saw the release of a brand new Criterion Collection remaster of Eyes Wide Shut. It's not the sort of Christmas movie you can show the family, or the sort of Christmas movie you should watch if you're under the age of 18, trust me on that one. But it's still a stone-cold classic made by one of the greatest auteurs in the motion picture medium. If you're made of stern enough stuff, and you love the sheer art of movies like I do, this is an outside-the-box staple of the Christmas canon. Eyes Wide Shut, to me, is the perfect encapsulation of the feeling of alienation and disillusionment Christmas came to represent as I got older. Christmas used to be my favorite time of year, but over time, it changed. At first, I was a cynic about it. I blamed my family's financial situation and the harsh realities of our present and ongoing predicament for my holiday angst, convinced like good old Chuck that the ever-increasing commercialization of the holiday was what soured me on the whole Christmas season. Every time we would drive past those well-to-do neighborhoods with lavish light displays, I would press my forehead to the cool pane of the passenger seat window and seethe, suffocating in silent, frosty jealousy. I just couldn't afford to do Christmas properly. That was the real problem. There's no time for merriment when you're hovering on the poverty line. But that wasn't really it. Christmas isn't a commercial. That was a flimsy excuse at best, a scapegoat, an attempt at finding a panacea for my poor spirits and pervasive pessimism. And as I grew even older, I grew to realize that my real problem with Christmas was with me. Well, I've put it off for long enough. Every head must bow, every tongue must confess. The final holiday special I want to talk to you about tonight is the greatest Christmas movie of all time. Because the greatest Christmas movie of all time is the greatest movie of all time. And the greatest movie of all time is Frank Capra's 1946 masterpiece, It's a Wonderful Life. I don't even need to tee this one up. You know the story, you know how it ends. If you've never seen it before, if you've only ever seen the parodies of it, the countless spoofs and goofs and gaffes and spin-offs, you're probably a cynic, like I was. You probably think its sentimentality is mawkish and insincere. You probably scoff at that big, weepy finale and think it couldn't possibly be justified. But it is. By God, is it ever. I need to dedicate an entire video to the subject of It's a Wonderful Life just to recount the history of my turbulent relationship with this movie, and I'm nowhere near brave enough to do that yet. Not yet. Please, God, not yet. No, I'm not even going to describe this movie or its plot. I'm not going to talk about the all-time great performance Jimmy Stewart turns in as George Bailey, the perpetually beaten and battered, sometimes unthinkingly harsh and abrasive, but ultimately, fundamentally decent man who starts this movie atop a bridge in the snow, contemplating the view from halfway down. I just can't. Not yet. I'm just going to describe what this movie does to me instead. I ask too much of It's a Wonderful Life every year. I know, it's a tall enough order to save George Bailey, let alone me. I found this movie in my first year of college, which at that time was the worst year of my life. At that time, I had never been lower, wearier, or more frightened of the future. I watched this movie on Christmas Eve in an abyss of despair on my own darkest night, having heard the stories, having heard how everyone who watched it wept uncontrollably. I was convinced I was broken beyond repair, that if I watched this movie with a stony face, I truly would be defective and irredeemable. But this is a story about redemption and salvation, even and perhaps especially when it's undeserved. And yet, even still, every year I go in terrified that it won't work anymore, that the ending will come and I won't cry and I will be broken, hopelessly and irreversibly broken like the warped and wicked thing that I am. And then I cry. Inconsolably, like a child, and my vision goes blurry, and I don't stop crying until the credits roll, and then I blink my bleary eyes as if emerging from some sort of blackout trance, immediately cease my whining and whimpering with one last pathetic wet little sniffle, and then I dry my eyes with my shirt sleeves and clean off my glasses and maybe blow my nose if I've cried hard enough. And that brief, beautiful moment where my soul is lifted with a warmth I have never known in my own life, and that I could never know anywhere but through the solace and solitude of the magic of the movies, is gone, and it passes like a fleeting shadow when the emptiness descends upon me once more, and the noises in my brain, which had gone mercifully quiet, returns, and I am borne back into the malaise of numbness in which I spend my days once more, secretly and silently and emotionlessly wishing to feel this beautiful, wonderful, unbearable pain of feeling once more. Every year, the lights of Bedford Falls are on, always on, and they're so warm, and they welcome me with a smile and an embrace and a word of kindness a soul like me is undeserving of every time. It's a Wonderful Life destroys me every time I watch it because it so perfectly articulates the real reason Christmas was and still is my favorite time of year. Because it captures what we all really want when we're opening presents under the tree. Sure, when you're a kid, you want to cross off all the stuff on your list, get the nicest and shiniest new toys. But what we really want, deep down in our heart of hearts, is to receive evidence that we are known, proof that we are loved. And the older I got, the more I realized that every gift I got for the holidays was for someone else. These presents weren't for me, they were for an idea of me. Someone else's cruel impression, the pristine, unblemished, idealized me they hoped I would be, not the ugly and deformed genuine article. Every Christmas, I realized no one understood me. Every Christmas, I was reminded, once again, that I was and forever would be all alone. But how can anyone understand you if you don't let them in? Because I'm not alone. I never was. So many people care, so many people cared, but I pushed them away time and time again because I couldn't believe them. The hole in the basement of my soul can never be filled, and I know I'll never be understood so long as I'm too afraid to even speak. I always wanted my own Christmas special. Did you know I had one once? It was a long time ago. You probably don't even remember it, but I do. I have no choice but to remember. I had friends back then, or something resembling friends anyways. Close proximity content creator acquaintances, we'll call it. Hard to believe, right? But it's true. We all got together and put on a little show. I got to play the role of the curmudgeon, which was always my favorite Christmas character. Ebenezer Scrooge, Dr. Bill Hartford, George Bailey, you know the like. But Christmas can't last forever. The winds blew ever colder, whispering in my ear. I pushed everyone around my hearth away because, of course I did. I was convinced they all secretly despised me. My own self-loathing made manifest through projection. It was pathetic. Pathetic. With eyes wide shut, I grimly attended the spectacle, but sulking in the shadows, seething in frosty, bitter jealousy at the freedom and festivity of all those around me, convinced I could never belong in the warmth of that sort of community. And that prophecy became self-fulfilling. And now I'm all alone. The fallout of all my intentions, good and bad. I did this to myself. And then, come to think of it, that was the time hold that thought. Someone's at the door. Someone's coming in. Oh, it's you. I wasn't expecting you yet. I have been burning for a year. The flightless bird returns. Come in, come in. You gave me your memories to solve the case. Memories of the future time and still have. That time is past. My time is over. I so hoped yours would be better. Still broken. You can never really go back to the way things were before. You deprived me of my birthplace. You can't solve this case. Some holes can't be filled. How much long now? My wife and not much longer now. You'll finish your story too. My guy dressed but spell the holes burns. We can wait here together for the end. Will they then non-loneliness? I hoped it would, but I don't think so. I don't think so. The lone male figure, the voice, it was you. I am sorry for what I did to you. I forgive you. Will you come with me? No. No, it's too late for me. But why? Because I died. This is where my story ends. Time to say goodbye. I'm Frostbyte Freeman. And until next time, stay frosty.